I'm going to make this the last session on the Masters, looking at the Masters project. So last week I did a little bit of work to copy one of these. So that's as far as I got with both of them. That was what I did in this session. I thought this week I would try something on my own, but in a Monet style. So that's what I'm attempting to do here. So this was a picture I took at the weekend at Cherry Orchard, what do you call it? Country Park or something like that. So basically working this up. What I ideally want to do is get the sky in first, so I'll just do a tiny bit of that. I'm trying not to make it quite as flat as that, and just trying to, in some of these areas, he's got quite broken brushwork, so he's probably got one colour down, something a bit like that, and then some more, perhaps a slightly different version of it. That's a slightly thicker version. And again, I thought I'd go a little bit darker in places, just vary the sky a little bit. One of the features of the Impressionists is that they don't necessarily blend all the brushwork. So you find that you can see some bits might be blended, but you can definitely see individual brush marks, which is something I find quite hard to do, to actually just leave the brush mark sometimes. And so yeah, gradually working background to foreground. With the blossom areas, the blossom trees themselves, although it's white blossom, this is tonally darker than the sky. This little bit here is tonally lighter than the trees behind it. But just trying to get something that's the right tone is quite important. So I've mixed some greys here, add a little bit of white to these. So I'm thinking grey, but maybe some other colours in there as well. And again, so I'll just work some of that in as a background for this work. And I quite like the idea of just merging these a little bit, not having too much space between them. I think I'm more inclined to experiment when I'm in the studio than if I'm outside painting. I tend to just paint what I see when I'm outside. But in the studio, I feel a little bit freer to play around with ideas. So something like that as a background colour, and then perhaps work some other colours into it. Perhaps some of this lilac-y colour, or pinky colour. So it's pretty much the same tone, but a slightly different colour. And I've also, somewhere here, I've added a bit of orange too. I don't know if it's a good idea, but it just seems how some of the colours that Monet used. A few dots and dashes of that. What else? Maybe make it a little bit bluer, a bluer version. So a little bit cerulean blue. Yeah, that stands out, and I think it helps to sort of break it up a little bit. Maybe a little bit of shadow under here, because the trees do tend to be a little bit darker underneath. So just mix a darker grey. And then where, well, they're not leaves, well, I suppose they are, aren't they? They're not the blossom flowers. So if it comes to these bits, this is where I could put this odd marks to suggest flowers coming out. Like that. Then for these twigs and branches, I'd use a darker colour and a nice thin brush like a rigger. So I'll use just a little bit of water just to make that flow. But a lot of the Impressionist paintings, they're quite dry marks anyway. They're almost like they're dragged over wet paint. Something along those lines. And sometimes keeping the brush fairly flat to the painting, it's easier to make a thinner mark. If I tried to just do it like that, it usually goes quite thick, so it's trying to keep a lighter touch. something along those lines, and then maybe just one or two, break that up a little bit again, perhaps a few other marks in and over, just lighten that up a tiny bit. Just to vary it a bit. So quite a nice, fun idea to play around with. Try, working from your own reference and then trying to interpret it in a different style. Yeah, so that's that.
Is that oils?
Yeah, this is oil. So these are just using the water mixable oils, just because they're easy to wash up. But even any kind of oils, and it would work fine in acrylics. That would work, really well in acrylics too. Our next project is looking at watercolours. I thought we could, I thought we'd start with sunsets and sunrises, perhaps just small studies. And then a little bit on sketching and sketchbook, so that'll be not all in the same week, but I'll cover a little bit of that as we go through the month.
Oh, was it keeping a sketchbook as well?
Yeah, keep your sketchbook into that. I just thought I'd talk in general.
Yeah.
If you've got sketchbooks, we can just look at each other's sketchbooks and share what. You've got sketchbooks.
I should leave them at home that day.
You won't have sketchbooks that day.
Sorry?
You won't have to use that day.
No.
I shouldn't have said that. I should have sprung that on you. Okay, yeah, so that's the thing. Well, I think what I was thinking was, maybe if people thinking want to work outside a little bit, be worth sort of trying out the portable mediums first. Watercolour and sketchbooks, it's easier to do that sort of thing outside.
Especially if it's like today. If it was like today.
Well, this is it. We could just go and do an afternoon out there instead of in here, couldn't we? We'll just come back for tea or something and go out again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do a bit of that. Okay, so that's the plan for the next one. Right. Are you all right on that? Any questions?
You did this. I really struggled with all.
When you're painting,
I have to do lots of these.
oils.
Yeah.
Now we're about to do watercolour projects. I'm actually
Yes, probably all right. Yeah.
But they're not the water soluble ones. And I've noticed that in there's also acrylics. Can you paint with both at the same time?
Yeah, I
Can
did.
you intermix?
I went through all this stuff. Yeah, I was looking to see
oils and acrylics.
You can do oils over the top of acrylics.
Yeah.
You can't really mix the two together.
So I thought, okay,
Yeah, they're not really
do
mixed.
some more.
And you're not supposed to do acrylics on top of oils. Yeah, it's best to do it the other way around, do the oils over the acrylics. Yeah. Yep.
What you can do.
Yep.
Lock it in.